any concerns
So,
or
if I'm gonna be honest with you,
opinions about any of the parties and costs?
like, I'm like, for energy.
Do you, the city manager, have any concerns or suggestions or thoughts about the different parties and their proposals? Costs, capacity, convenience?
I heard from Mr. Barr in Australia, he liked Mr. Plato's proposal.
Why is that?
What works, Mr. Plato?
Could you speak a little bit louder?
It's well regarded, and I think the cost is okay as well.
So it's not available,
What's not available?
its cost.
Oh.
Summary
I mean,
page
it says
two
NA.
does have
Talk about hourly rate.
Could you come-
165 or
Okay, could we, please, would you take the bottles outside?
So if you look at the hourly rate, it's 135 to 165, and he's proposing 25 to 40 hours. Both of those are kind of on the lower end. I think he provides a 1-month estimation of completion. Now, he doesn't provide a estimated total amount, but we can math that.
But if he's gonna take 25 to 40 hours, we can,
I'm gonna do that right now.
okay.
No, I did it 6,600 at the top end.
At the top end,
Yeah.
you know what the bottom end is?
Well, I did 165 times, and then that's 66 if you do.
I got 3,375 in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
And you say he's the one that, Mr. Barr?
Yes, but I want to caution council, it's completely up to you.
I know, but I
And I
mean,
didn't hear, just so you know, I didn't hear any concerns about any of the attorney's abilities or,
Do all of these firms have backgrounds in investigation, to your knowledge?
so Clarkdale's a large firm, I'm sure they do. I believe one attached a news article for some stuff they did that was Kirk Hoops Lane and Battle Elementary. Mr. Plato does, I believe, which one is this? Having trouble locating the other ones. One of them's from, where is it?
is your hand up? Okay.
All right, so this is a question to council. Okay, so I'll ask the question and I'll keep talking while you think about it. So what is the end game here? What's the goal? And let's take that to the logical extreme. Let's say we do the investigation and the evidence comes back that our two colleagues violated the charter. Are we going to charge them with the misdemeanor? I mean, that's the logical conclusion. Are we going to charge them with a crime?
Okay, I would preface that council has no authority to charge
Well,
anybody here.
we would contact the authorities to charge them.
So
We would make a complaint with the sheriff or the police department or whoever.
So the ability to charge for a crime comes from if it's for ordinance under our office, or if it's state law under the county prosecutor or the attorney general.
But, you're right, I misspoke there. But the whole idea is at the end of the day here, it's our goal to have them charged with a crime, a misdemeanor.
Council member, I would caution the way you're phrasing your question.
But and the reason I'm asking that is because, you know, this goes back to the discussion we had on the 3rd. What information do we not feel that we have that we couldn't use our subpoena power to get? And let me give you an example. Okay, so we have a check from the students to the travel agent. Okay, so what we could ask for is we could subpoena the student's bank account record to show the date of the deposit and who that deposit was from. Okay, if we don't believe that that money came from Global Capital LLC, even though they said that's where it came from. If we don't believe them, we could subpoena that, and we could ask the city attorney to subpoena that information on our behalf. There's also the talk, one time there was a claim made that the Chinese consulate provided money to International Village. We could subpoena International Village's financial records and ask them to prove that they actually got this money. You would think that after 2 weeks in this haze of confusion, if that really happened, they would have provided that information. There's also the LinkedIn red message issue, if we really want to go after that. Well, you would think that after 2 weeks, if she really, it's up to her to prove that she read that after she got back. The whole idea is, if that didn't happen, she's had 2 weeks to prove that. Are we going to subpoena that and try and find that information? I mean, there's a lot of information. There's burden of proof on everyone to clear their name.
That's inaccurate, Councilman.
Well,
You're shifting the burden of proof.
what's that?
You're shifting the burden of proof. It is not on the
No.
person accused to prove their innocence.
You're right, you're right. But, so their reputation is being sullied. And so they have the opportunity to offer up information if they have it, to show, that they are not, that some event did or didn't happen at a specific time. And so, like I said, so we could continue with this investigation, but what is the end game? If the end game is not to either pass a resolution of exoneration or a resolution of violation, what is the point of an investigation? Is it just for our own satisfaction? I know the public doesn't trust us and they want to see this done. But, if we're not willing to take that final step, we're just wasting everybody's time. At the end of the day, the recourse, if the public is not happy, their recourse is to recall. They could always do that. They could always run somebody in August to take that person's position, move to extend the midnight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, in this, so, what is council's pleasure in this, or what is council's goal? What is the end game?
Okay, Councilman Bashir.
I need you to clarify your question. Are you questioning the decision by council we made previously to do an investigation? Or are you asking what we're going to do at the end of it, or are you asking both?
No, I'm not questioning anything. I mean,
Okay.
I was very satisfied with having our investigative meeting on the 10th. I was very satisfied. I learned a lot of stuff from the documents that were provided that Friday.
So is your question then, do we have the chutzpah to take action once we find out all the information? I don't know. Your question is I don't understand what your question is.
Why do you want to do an investigation? Just for self-satisfaction, or to take action? Or take no action, or action of...
I would interject that the purpose of an investigation is to find out the facts.
Right.
Right.
So if council believes it has enough facts to take no action, then take no action. You seem confused. If council has enough facts now to believe it is satisfied that
Oh, to not take action on this, just...
if that's the council's preference, then that's the council's preference.
Take no action.
If council has enough facts before it to believe that,
Fact, okay, once the facts are gathered.
if you believe that there's enough facts gathered now, that you don't believe any action should be taken, or you don't believe any action, I'm explaining this. Again, you're the,
Okay, Councilmember Murdock.
Yeah, let me back up and kind of follow Councilman Brod's thinking a little bit. Okay, if you're trying to follow the money, which I think most of it was, all coming off of an opinion from our attorney that basically said having the developer pay for this trip directly or indirectly. And he said indirectly in one of his memos. So that was all out there, but he was worried about that. Okay. And then we have information indicating that the International Village did pay for the trip. They said so, according to what we had. And the student group said so. I mean, I suppose somebody could disassemble that and all of a sudden it could change, but with the information we got, with our inquiry, you notice that's what we got. So if that's true, what do we do? Find the developer, $100? I mean, whatever our ordinance calls
For
for.
the ordinance violation, I think it's a maximum of
I mean,
500.
it's basically, yeah, 500 or whatever. I mean, then it's really, you know, it's kind of a trust issue then. How do you deal with somebody that, you know, manipulated or whatever, you know, went around what was clearly something they shouldn't have done and were warned of that. I mean, I don't see any result that we can do with that. We can continue doing negotiations, hold our nose kind of thing, and be more wary of it. But how do we find out more information is basically, if we want to tie that down more, like Brian said, we subpoena the records of the bank, you know, and a few folks in the records of the travel agency, and, you know, we can find that out more, or reinforce that more. So, that's that part of it. Then what's the other part of it? We already know we had a process that was flawed. That's why we did the resolution previously today. And there was, information was not, we're not getting good information flow to us and to the public and so forth. And we need to fix that, and we're hoping to fix that with this. So where do we go with the issue of who said what when? I mean, with the mayor, for instance. I mean, people are gonna believe the mayor or not believe the mayor. And they have, their remedy is the election. Or recall, I don't think they can even recall this election. But, you know, that's up to the election to deal with that. There's not much we're gonna do about that. I mean, I suppose we can do a censure resolution or whatever, but we don't know anything about that. I mean, it's basically, you know, I didn't read that and Tommy didn't. So I'm not sure what we get out of all this investigation to proceed anywhere that we don't already know. But
That's for discussion, council.
Okay. I work under the premise of trust and verify. Okay? Somebody tells me a thing is a thing, that's great. Then I go try and figure it out myself, if that is a thing, just to make sure. And so far, we know what happened within inside the city limits because of our own investigation. But we don't know what happened outside the city limits, other than what has been reported in media. And while I don't doubt what has happened in the media, that is not sources that we have contracted with who are responsible to us and are asking the questions that we want asked. They're only asking the questions that somebody else wants asked. And so for me, I think it's a responsibility to my constituents to get a complete picture and make whatever judgment call is appropriate, okay? And without a complete picture, I don't know what that judgment call is. But if you're asking, will we take action if it's appropriate? We might take action if it's appropriate. And I don't know what that'll be. I don't know what the rules are. This is new to me, you know. And but you know, I want the city to know that we have done our due diligence in this matter and are rectifying a breach of trust.
So what do you want to verify? That's the thing. So you want to verify what you've been told. So give me that list of things you want to verify.
I want to verify where the check came from. I want to verify that the consulate did not get involved. I want to verify that whether there was any contact with the consulate or not. I want to verify if the money ever touched the student organization or not. And I want to verify just how intentional misleading the city was and by the developer. And that will help us work with the developer in a more knowledgeable manner in the future. It'll also help us identify where we stand in negotiations with the developer. and how we can work with her going forward. That's what I expect to learn out of it, and so that's what I hope to learn out of it.
Okay, Councilmember Poe.
I believe in don't trust, verify. Vet contract terms that are very clear, standards with significant sanctions for violations. Careful planning and evaluation. Regardless of what we decide to do about our own people. That way, the decision on whether this development goes forward or not is based on the merits of this proposal, not on trust. In fact, if we find out that the developer did something knowingly wrong, that of course affects how harsh we might be in our demands for standards of performance and sanctions. It could also, depending on what is discovered, raise some doubts about whether to proceed at all, except in this context, I don't think that's going to happen. I would suggest that there still are a few things that I would like to know. It's been mentioned to some degree. I really want to I don't want to assume where the money came from or didn't. I want to find out for sure. I would like to see the developer, I keep forgetting her name, I'm sorry.
Foster.
Foster, better mark that down. I would like to see the attorney interview or depose, practically under oath, Ms. Foster and her agent, and maybe one or two of her agents to find out for sure that they provided the money, they originated the money. And what do they say our city people knew or didn't know and when? I would like to see either the mayor provide or the attorney obtain the email verification whether the mayor got that email later or earlier. She says it was later, after they left on the trip. And I would like to see if there's anybody else, again, mostly the developer side, was there any conversations that would lead anybody to know that anybody on our side or the developer had an agreement or understanding to effect a vote or decision in return for the trip. There was also a question.
Can I ask something?
Let me finish, yeah.
You asked that question to everybody, and got an
I asked
answer.
our people, but we haven't asked the developer or other parties who may have some knowledge of the developer, or that the attorney might consider interviewing. So there's, we did one side of the
I
coin.
mean, I thought it was,
Yeah, I think the other side of the coin, to really be complete, should be done. I think I know what's gonna come from this, but I'm not gonna make a judgment on it until I know. Because it's not just our people that's affected, if the developer, or someone for the developer did something wrong, we should report that to the prosecutor. And if not, we should stop mistrusting the developer if they did nothing wrong. So I think it works both ways. We have the legal issues, we have the reputation issues, we also have the practical issues with our proposal, whether to go forward on it or not, and how to do that. So I think we need to pin down these last few questions. The public trust issue is overwhelmingly important to me. I don't think we have to go to the extent that some people do. I think it's a relatively narrow range of questioning and interviews and perhaps a couple subpoenas.
I think it's a ridiculously short investigation.
I do
There's only
too.
four places we really have to check. 4 sources.
There might be a half day to a day's worth of deposition in my estimation of one or more people. But it just depends on how much cooperation they get mostly. Could be as little as a half hour, depending on who they ask first and what information they get. Now, there was also some speculation, I don't know the technical issues of it. Someone was saying there was missing information in the email involving Ms. Arnett. I don't know that it's missing or not. I can't tell for sure, not being technically astute in those areas. I suspect that there's someone who is astute in those areas could tell us a simple explanation one way or the other. But that's the kind of thing I think we need to pin down to settle these concerns that we and people in the public have. I don't know what the result's going to be for sure, although I'd be surprised if certain things come out. let's put it that way. Once we get that, I think then we are clear to say, yes, let's go forward and try to work out a proper deal with proper protections and meeting all our concerns, or we'll have a clear information to say, to hell with it. I think that'll help us a lot in all this regards. But I think this will just need to be just a relatively limited scale and scope. There's something else I wanted to say here, but I forget what it is now. So the main thing is to narrow down, as we've been starting to do, narrow down the issues we want addressed by whoever does this. Once we get that, then I think the facts will speak for themselves. And we'll know what we need to do. The uncertainty has been not having the facts, not having them properly verified. Once we pin those down and verify them, it'll clarify everything.
Anyone else? Okay, Councilmember Rock, where I am is I would like to know all of the facts, and I am at a point where I believe that if the facts show that the developer did knowingly, I mean, she knew that the employees or council people were not to accept money from the developer, and if she went ahead and did that and paid for the tickets, if it's all factual, then I say, no, cut the deal. I don't think we should get involved with anyone that would deliberately do something that was deceitful. And I think in doing that, and depending upon the further vetting of the company, I think I would be willing to just cut it off. I also believe I'm at a point where I feel that if staff took the money, took the tickets knowing that the money came from the developer, then they need to go. I feel like that trust has also been broken, and I think that we need people that we can trust working for the city. And I think that if I don't know how much more we can do other than censor the mayor and the mayor pro tem, but I do believe that we need to have all of the facts before we really, we need the facts. We need to know, and not just for ourselves, but for the residents or the citizens of the city of Ypsilanti. I think we owe that to them, and I think that we need to, once we get all of the facts, then I think that those are decisions that we have to make then, but we need, for me, I need all of the facts before I can decide completely on what we need to do. But that's where you were asking what was our end game, where were we headed, so that's where.
I mean, the thing is, both you and Councilmember Vogt asked for information that was given under sworn testimony, so I don't understand,
There were some other things that we didn't ask.
No, I know. You asked for, did the staff know the money came from the developer? The two people who knew the information, two people prior to the trip said the money, they were told the money came from the consulate. Okay, and so they said that under oath.
They said that under oath, but yet in emails, it was said that they knew that it came from the developer.
Which also the question, who told them that?
Yeah, that was.
Who told them that and when?
Only that after they were in.
Well, but regardless, they said it when, well, that's what we need to know. We need to know when. We need to know, I just feel like we need to know all the facts, so. And if we can sit here and go on and on about, the end game or what we're gonna do, but let's try to move forward and decide on this. We've already, unless people are not wanting to do this. Councilmember Murdoch.
I guess this is a question for you. Both of you mentioned you wanted to gather all these facts, and basically.
Councilmember Bashir said the same thing.
I have chocolate, but it's okay.
No, I mean,
No,
but
she said the same thing.
you didn't say, then we'll decide whether we'll move on with this project. So we don't.
No, I did not.
Oh, no, you didn't. They did. They said, no, we're gonna hold up this 2-week, 3-month, whatever the hell it's gonna be, hold up everything while we find out that information?
Good question. Is that what you're
No.
saying?
No.
That's what you said.
We asked the attorney to move promptly and get this done, for everybody's sake, for all the reasons that we all know are
But
exist.
still, whatever promptly is,
Why is my rest protecting the?
I assume you're gonna put a hold on the discussions, project discussions, until we got the results. That's what you said. Now, I don't know how long it's gonna
Protect
be,
the developers.
neither do you. So is that what you're,
I don't get it.
We need an attorney who's available and will move promptly to get things done.
And
I
I
think we're
thought,
talking weeks, not months.
and I thought what was really helpful was estimated timelines, you know, that they put out here, and there was 3 that were very short, fairly short timelines, that I thought would be helpful. And again, I don't think it's a very complicated thing. You know, we have to talk to the developer, talk to the consulate, talk to the school, get copies of the checks, check times on when emails and messages were read, you know, and I think in a couple of depositions, I think it's not that complicated. So I think it's well worth it. And I think we'll have more information on which to know more about the development, more about our internal mistakes that were made, if any, and then go from there.
I think any decision we make on any of the parties, including the developer and our people, whether to move forward or not, are going to be flawed. They're always going to be under a cloud of suspicion and doubt, no matter which way we go on it. And if we're wrong, we can be sued, the city can be sued, we can lose a huge development we should have, we could do a development we shouldn't have. The consequences are very serious, and reputations are certainly the most likely thing to be fragile and fractured here, so I think it's important to not go on circular reasoning or assumptions or speculation on any aspect of the critical facts.
So, can we go back to the question about, which law firm? I mean, that's the question we were deciding tonight. Correct?
I think
Councilmember Rob, you put that question out there about the inmate. Have you heard sufficiently from all of us
Yes, I
yet
can
what
talk
we?
about whatever I
where
want.
we wanna
You
go.
can talk about whatever you want. You want to start
Right,
talking about
and
the law
all I'm
firm,
asking
go
is,
ahead.
have you heard sufficiently from?
No, because
us?
you guys are just talking, this is like, no one wants, this is putting off making a decision forever. I want all the facts. What are the facts? We want to know the facts. It's like, if you want to know a handful of things, let's do those handful of things. You know, we're talking about taking depositions, we don't believe sworn testimony. It's like, we keep, well, I get the impression you guys just want to keep putting this off and off and off.
No, I'm not going to, there's people's reputations and careers that are gonna be impacted by this, and I want to make sure we go through the steps of the process. I think that's important. It's also important for the development of the city. I'm not really interested in a discussion about skipping steps at this time.
I've been an investigator, I've been a trial lawyer, I've done depositions, some of them taken 3 days for one person. I've had multi-week trials. You get surprised, no matter what you think you had, you get surprised when you grind through it all. I don't think there's that much to grind through here, but you need to do the process in order to really know what you're talking about. And we've had way too much speculation and assuming of facts that don't exist yet or aren't known, and circular reasoning, and it's just not fair to anybody.
I'm gonna move.
I would like for us to move on with the issue that's before us, that the decision on selecting the law firm.
I'm gonna-
That's where we are.
I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna move that we choose Plato Law as the firm to do the investigation.
Is there a second?
If I may, so you have to think about actually retaining the law firm. How would you like to move forward with that? So you could request.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Yeah, there is. That's why.
That's what it's laid out.
Yeah. Sorry, Councilwoman Vogt.
Okay, thank you.
You can ask that we negotiate a contract and bring that back to council. You can ask that we limit the scope based on the discussion here. It's up to the pleasure of council. But that's up to Mr. Plato to agree with, obviously.
I say yes to both of those using questions that we presented. And obviously, we can get it, or have a transcript of the previous testimony last week.
Well, we would have to probably pay somebody to transcribe that.
Minutes, whatever the attorney thinks
Sure,
they need.
right.
So, yeah, I would agree with both of them. And we need to limit,
Could you
The
please
hours.
speak louder or
I'm sorry.
into the mic or?
well, I don't have.
There's no mic.
Oh, no mic. Is it turned on? Because mine was
They're
off.
apparently broken.
Those are broken?
Something broken from last week.
Okay.
So I'm saying yes to both the things he said. We need to limit the scope to the subjects and questions we've talked about tonight. We need to limit the hours, the total fee, subject to his request for more with a justification, and have the city attorney and city manager negotiate the terms for our approval. Do we need that in the resolution, or is that sufficient?
Yeah, I would want direction is what you want us to do.
So I would propose we amend the resolution to say those things.
You're amending the resolution, I mean, the motion to
Motion.
select Plato
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
to include those. Did you get those things that he called out, Pellerman?
Could you repeat that one more time?
We'll try. So we're directing the city attorney and the city manager to negotiate a contract with the attorney.
Wait,
We just make it the city attorney.
City attorney,
The city attorney.
That's fine.
Yeah.
yes, I guess, you're right, we should. Yes.
you raised a good question here. The attorney, it's our investigation. The
Yes,
attorney we hired responds to us.
right.
The city manager is not in that
Yeah,
process.
You're right.
In fact, he's the chief administrative officer and is part of whatever happened, or could be, I mean, it's part of the discussion of what went on, so I mean, it should be our reporting to us through the attorney.
So would you repeat that for the clerk?
I figure where I left off. The city attorney negotiate the terms, including the questions and issues that we've discussed tonight. And we may have something later, we'll have something out. I forgot
So,
what the third thing
if I
was.
may summarize, you're asking that we negotiate an agreement with the Plato Law Firm for retained as a special counsel to investigate this matter, that you want the city attorney to negotiate that contract, keeping in mind that council's interested in limiting the scope apparently to the consulate, the
Developer.
developer, and who am I missing?
The student group.
The student group.
And then I also want to know the.
You want to limit it out,
Well-
you want to limit hours, right?
Limit hours, I want to know the source of the check. I want that traced.
Okay, and so the financial kind of, okay.
And we've also mentioned, I've mentioned that we need to get those parties' story on who knew what when,
Well, right, that would be part of the investigation.
right? And specifically, I mentioned the two email issues, the mayor's receipt and opening of her email or not opening it, and then the so-called missing text.
Might I suggest that council submit questions?
Yes,
And I might do that after retaining Butane.
that's fine. I'm
I-
getting them out there now
agree.
before.
No, I understand.
I agree with that the council submit questions, because I think we're fumbling
Let's put that
in
in.
now.
So-
So
Council
that
submit
if council has the points and the questions that council wants asked, if we would by
So we send this to
Thursday,
Mr. Ducey.
we would send
Well,
out
you might send it
questions
directly
directly to Mr. Duchesne.
Well, we'll figure it out. So here's what I'm suggesting, and it's up to the Murats and the seconder, that you essentially, you're requesting that this office negotiate a contract with Mr. Plato to limit the scope of the investigation and to limit the hours, and then we'll present that contract whenever available. And then council can submit questions, specific questions to Mr. Plato based on that contract.
Let's say limited to 35 hours.
Yeah, that's okay. That helps, thank you.
That's less than a week, I would say at least 40.
Are we limiting the time, or do you guys want the facts?
We want the hour.
We only want
facts.
35
I'm not-
hours worth of facts.
I want.
I mean, that's the thing, I mean, you guys gotta be a little serious here about this. You can't try and do this on the cheap and say you want something.
Making a judgment.
Do you only want
I may be-
35, no, the answer is, do you only want 35 hours worth of facts?
We want, if it's gonna go longer than that, we wanna know why. We want to have a good explanation, not someone padding the bill. And just wasting time. That's what it's about.
If we're unsatisfied at 35 hours, we can always ask for more.
This is very extremely common, almost to the point of 99% in attorney retainer agreements. That
Is
you
the
have
attorney
terms
doing
like
what?
this. In attorney retainer agreements, you limit the scope and you limit the amount or number of hours or the total, subject to the attorney requesting more hours with explanation and justification. So that's left open. If you have a good reason, you can show me why you need the time, we'll consider it. But otherwise, you can only go so far, you only have authority to spend so much money. Extremely common.
But we're not limiting the scope.
We are limiting the time, which means he has to limit the scope to the things that really count and do it efficiently and not just bill his lunch to us at $165 an hour. See what I mean?
So he's determining what's important to us?
He has to produce the results. He has to show the time. He has to show I spent 4 hours in a deposition and 2 hours preparing the subpoenas and sitting them out. I'm billing you 6 hours. Versus I did those 4 hours and 2 hours and I'm billing you 12 hours because you authorized it. No, that doesn't work. He still has to justify the time. And does that mostly by showing his hourly, his billing records, his hourly work records, his timesheets, his results.
Right, but we're not limiting the scope of the investigation.
We are limiting the scope to the things we're asking about, the questions.
No, no, we all get to submit our own questions.
No, we're going to submit our questions, so we're not just saying we want this little bit. We will submit our questions, so.
We've discussed roughly what we're going to submit, so we pretty well know what that is. There's always a little fuzz, you know, I agree, but the point is, you put a cap on things, the attorney knows he has to do the work within that time frame, or have a very good reason to come back and ask for permission to incur more money. Extremely common.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion?
Is the motion to amend it? I'm sorry.
The motion.
Where are we?
We had a motion, believe it or not, we had a motion to select Mr. Plato.
Yeah, Plato Law.
Okay, Plato Law. And then, were you actually making a motion, an amendment to that motion?
That was my discussion, yes. We were-
That was your discussion for her, but was it actually a motion?
I
Because
guess
after
it's a
you,
friendly amendment.
a friendly amendment. Okay.
Councilmember Vogt is proposing a friendly amendment to Councilmember Fisher on limitation of hours to 35. Is that what you're at? And that,
No, he didn't say 30.
I did.
you did, okay, then I don't know.
But
what
then that was, you were amending, you were attempting to amend your own motion, is that what you were saying, what you were doing?
How about, can I propose a suggestion? Somebody withdraw that motion and then make it specific for motion.
I withdraw.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Do you-
More specific.
I move that we
Wait,
contract.
wait, we have to hear if Councilmember Vogt, he seconded. Are you willing to have it withdrawn? Okay.
Now, somebody make a motion and say exactly what you want to say.
I move that we contract with Plato Law for 35 hours with specific questions to be submitted to our lawyers to be forwarded to them.
Okay, 1 second. And you're directing our office, the city attorney's office, to go negotiate and present that contract.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is there a second? I haven't heard a second yet, so. You're a second.
Falling asleep on us.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So this is no longer our investigation, we're sending everything through the attorney, our attorney. That's what your motion was.
We're hiring an agent to continue this part of our investigation.
Right, but but you're saying that our attorney is gonna communicate with him, not us.
still have to sign it. You still
Right,
have to
but
approve it.
my thing is the issue, is forwarding the question.
And he's negotiated the contract for us, but we haven't discussed who they're gonna report to yet. Okay, that's a different series of questions. Okay, that's a different answer. We can have a motion now, if you want to, later on, after we resolve this motion, that they report to us directly, and Skip the law firm, that's great with us. I mean,
Okay,
that's fine,
we
but
can't-
that's a
we don't-
separate question.
We already have a motion on the floor, so we can't have another motion.
This is just about setting up the contract.
Okay, so, so the thing is, so whatever questions we submit are part of that negotiation. There's no discounting questions.
So here's what, you've set a limit on the amount of time. Council wants to provide some specific guidance to whoever the attorney is that's provided. I would suggest that we enter into a retainer agreement and then you work out with that special counsel how to submit questions.
All right, well, that wasn't a motion.
It wasn't the
That
motion,
wasn't the motion, that, no.
or you can work
And
it out
that
through
wasn't
us or
what,
whatever.
and that wasn't what we had discussed.
You can do it through us, and what I'm saying is it's a procedural matter that we probably work out after we negotiate and select a contract.
That makes sense,
Okay.
then we can discuss the specific questions.
Okay, so do you withdraw your motion? Please,
I withdraw my motion again.
would you withdraw your, okay, can we have a simple motion to, contract with Plato Law?
Apparently not.
Well, that's what I'm asking for. That's what I'm asking for, just a simple motion that we contract with Plato Law, and then we will work out the
I
details.
still want my guidance, so I want the motion to say, I direct the city attorney to blank. So if I understand it correctly, we're
I
at,
move to direct our city attorney to negotiate with Plato Law a contract based on 35 hours of investigation. Nice of
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, it's been moved and second that we direct our city council to develop a contract with Plato Law. And that's it,
at 35 hours.
at 35 hours. That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Ms. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bashir.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown. Councilmember Murdock.
No,
Councilmember Richardson.
No.
Councilmember Rye.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogt. Yes.
Dead.
It fails.
All right, the reason I voted no was I don't like the 35 hours. I would like the hours to at least, I mean, limited, but not the 35. That was why I said no. I agree with Plato Law. I agree with our attorney developing the contract with them, but the timing was, so.
They said estimated 25 to 40 hours, okay? So I gave them a little less than what they estimated, and I thought that was fair, make them work a little tighter. That was what I based the 35 hours on, okay? I thought it was a smart number, but, the motion failed, so I made 3 failed motions on this, I'm done moving.
Well, they weren't, the other two weren't failed, they just didn't, you withdrew.
What would you accept?
You say what?
What number of hours do you suggest?
I would give them the 40.
That's fine, I don't care that much. I just want to get this going, okay? I was just trying to make somebody work a little bit smarter, based on their own bid. Either way is fine with me.
All right, so since we're in the middle of nothing, hey, Mr. Attorney, so how does council go about asking for subpoenas of financial information?
You would have to direct our office to issue the subpoenas if you don't have special counsel, but if you're issuing subpoenas to internal staff, I would advise that you hire outside counsel.
You say you do what now?
You can issue.
Use the mic.
Sorry. If If you issue subpoenas to essentially outside city actors, then I don't have an issue with you directing us to issue those subpoenas. But we need to be very specific about what you're requesting. So that's the benefit of having an independent outside counsel is, you know, they get a lot of discretion as to what the questions are. You don't have to specifically state what's going to be in the subpoena when you issue the subpoena. So, and the other thing is, how do you want to structure the subpoena? Do you want them to come here to report and then bring documents with them? Do you want to just have them do written responses to those questions? And if they have to report, we're going to have to work out a time when they can come in. So those are the kind of the practical issues with council submitting a direct subpoena. Not that I'm saying don't do it, but that's how you do it.
And the count on that last motion, was it 3-2? So why did it fail?
This charter says.
Charter requires 4 votes.
4, okay, all right, thank you. I just usually, I mean, it's 5 rather than the,
Right, if it was Robert's rules straight. then
yeah,
it'd be correct.
right, okay. Okay.
So,
Yes.
help me out on this, Brian, because we had talked about this a little bit before. You know, if we're following the money, we would like to subpoena the records of the 2 accounts that we know about that the Chinese Students Association has.
Well, it might, it sounds like there are 2 Wayne State accounts. That doesn't mean they can't have outside accounts.
All their accounts.
Right.
The account that's on the check, which may or may not be different. The travel agency's records of the transactions having to do with this trip and where the money came from. And I don't know how we get to Amy Foster and the capital organization, but those bank records to see if suddenly 16,000 are written, you know, to wherever. That gets us
That's the money.
pretty close to everything we want without going through a whole rigmarole. Now, if that proves not to be worthwhile or we want more, we can.
If I may clarify that, you want the 3 accounts, financial information concerning this trip, 3 accounts from the Student Association.
Well, we don't know how many. they
Or all
are. We know
accounts.
all of it. We know they have 2.
Payment records from the travel agency.
Right, dealing with the trade. Or, yeah, dealing with the
Or
trade.
their agents.
And also the records from the developer.
The record of the payment to the agency for the tickets.
Right.
But the check's a certified check, it's not from.
Right, but it's not, but that's the thing, everyone's confused about this. It's gonna be a certified check because of the amount of money. No one's gonna accept a personal check for $16,000. And so, but it was written against another account, because if you look at, here's the thing, just for everyone in the audience who didn't see this, in the packet, there was a really lousy photocopy. We actually got the real text image of it. And if you look at that text image, it shows the amount of, you know, it shows that there was $16,953 in the account prior to this check being written, and there was $152 left over. And so it seemed, like I said, to me, that makes sense that that was written out of the student's account.
What was the third one?
Oh, phosphorus. So, yeah, you know, was there really consulate money? And how
I don't think we're gonna do well with this.
no, I'm not worried about that. I mean, that's the thing. You know, I'm not entirely sure I'm worried about if there was consulate money because that's not in our charter.
What we're worried about is the money going through
Yeah.
the developer.
Yeah,
Whether it
that's
came
the only
from-
charter violation.
Came from somebody
The other
else.
information is just information I have, I guess, but it's not anything to do with our charter.
The issue is if the developer's money, hands touch the money at all.
Right, maybe you can find out
Right.
that basically.
That's what we're,
Yeah.
that's what we're interested in.
Right, yeah, that's why I'm not,
finding.
that's why the consulate isn't all that.
I was just making it clear to
Can I
Mr.
just
Jessica.
briefly address what council's questions here? There are generally 2 types of subpoenas. One is for the production of documents and things, and the other one is for a person for questions. What you're talking about is called a subpoena duca sticum. and that's for the production of documents and things. And so this council is requesting that these particular individuals be subpoenaed to request this particular information. Is that what the will of council is?
That's what I'm hearing. Yes.
And not to select an attorney special counsel.
That was my, you know.
But again, I'm
my
just trying to
discussion.
summarize, but.
It's not a motion.
It's not a motion.
It's not,
I was
it's a discussion.
Trying to talk about
Thank you.
how it would work.
The
No.
the way that would work is you direct our office to produce and serve that subpoena.
And I was thinking you were saying that this is what you wanted from the
Well, I
special
want to
counsel.
feel it out first. I didn't want to see Dan run up the door screaming.
Now, I can tell you, and, we'll figure it out. If we have an issue with service of the subpoena or something, we'll advise.
Mr., Councilmember Vogt, may I ask you to make a motion for the same motion regarding Plato Law without the 35 hours, but adding the subpoenas that were just presented?
Yeah,
That was I didn't know that was a motion.
It wasn't, I was still discussing it on the floor,
Okay.
so.
I have,
That's fine.
so, again,
So,
my
I'm gonna make
technical.
my motion, don't mind.
Well, I have questions first, because I need something else on it. So I asked about the two email issues, the mayor's and the email text issue. I'm not sure who we would subpoena and how we would get those to verify it.
Attorney opinions, Lincoln.
I don't care about that. That's not the money trail.
I do. Well,
I do.
it's knowledge or agreement terms. It's charter and statutory law terms,
Again, I would be more comfortable council selecting special.
Right.
council slash. All right, so let him decide how to do it. Right,
Mr. Murdock wants to make a motion.
go ahead.
Yeah, I would move that we direct the city attorney to subpoena documents, of your fancy Latin phrase,
Lucas Deacon.
for the Chinese Student Association at Wayne State, the
With Chinese Student and Scholars
Student
Association.
Scholars, the travel agency, I forgot its name, but
Young's Travel,
Young's Travel, and
Global Capital.
Global Capital, and Amy Fox.
Amy Fox.
Foster.
Is there a second?
With documents related to this.
Is there a second to that motion?
Support.
Can we get a friendly amendment to add, requesting that actually be done by special counsel Plato?
No. If it's friendly amendment, then Councilmember Murdock and
I don't
Councilmember
accept
Rado
it.
have it.
Huh?
I don't accept that.
No, I mean, the whole point was
Have you do it.
have you do it, to keep it in-house, basically. You know, clearly, we get this information on the, you know, we can expand or do whatever if we don't think that's useful. But I think if we get these documents, much of what we're talking about, we'll know. But, and these are documents, not people, so I think, I won't say it's easy, because I don't know if it's easy.
Sometimes it's not. One question though, so at a minimum, I would give them 14 days to respond. That's a minimum.
Right, well,
It's up to
what's the other
council.
guy gonna do?
Whatever.
I mean, what's the outside gonna do? He's gonna give him a bunch of time to respond.
Sure, yeah.
He's not, I mean,
I don't want to put
No, I'm
14
not-
days
I'm
and council yell at me for.
no, I mean, I understand it's gonna take time. That's-
Sure, okay.
That's why we're having this discussion, and that's why I brought up, what do we do in the meantime, while we wait for all the stuff to happen.
Right. I'm
But
not
I
saying-
think we can get the basic information we're looking for quicker this way, that's, and if we need to expand, for more information, if there's not enough, we can do that if we feel it's necessary. That's where I'm coming from.
So are you saying do this and not hire special counsel?
Correct.
At this time, we can postpone that to indefinitely.
What's that?
Well, I'm saying that we can postpone the motion.
There's
that-
no motion on the floor, there's nothing to postpone. It's been voted down. The only motion.
Oh, you're
No.
right, you're right.
I mean, yeah, that can come
That-
back.
His
You're right,
motion.
right, yeah.
Yes, motion's on the floor.
Right.
No, I forgot about that, my mistake.
Call the question.
Okay, would you call the vote, please? Question's been called.
Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson,
No.
Councilmember Rob,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogt,
Yes.
Councilmember Bashir.
No.
Motion fails.
I move we adjourn.
You can make that motion. There's more on the agenda.
It's a privileged motion.
I would really like to have our session at the end of the meeting.
Oh, that. About that. All right. I move we move into.
You want to end the date, so you're making a motion to end the date on this topic.
I move we go into an executive session, however you want to figure that one out, and get this meeting over with.
Oh, you can do that too. All right. So there's been a motion to move to closed session.
I'm not ready to table this, set this discussion aside. I want to get this law firm thing resolved.
But you can't do that.
Would you like to try a motion that might?
Okay, Councilmember Murdoch moved that we go into closed session, and it's, as yet, there has been no second to that motion.
Support.
There
I'll
was
support that.
opposition, what's that?
I'll support that motion.
And we need
It has been moved and second that we go into closed session. Would you, is there discussion on that? Councilmember Bashir's discussion was that she would rather see us get this settled.
This is fine?
Councilmember Murdoch,
yes.
Councilmember Richardson,
No.
Councilmember Rob,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogt,
No.
Councilmember Bashir.
No.
Now I move to adjourn because we're not going into closed session.
I move that we contract with Plato Law.
He has a privileged motion on the floor.
Did you second it?
The chair needs to second.
Right.
Call for a second on that.
Oh, move to adjourn, that's right.
Is there a second? There's no second, so please. All right, Councilmember Bashir. You were off.
Okay, I move that we contract with Plato Law and we let, and I'm not gonna move any qualifications on that.
Other than directing members.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Or,
Would you call the roll on that, please?
Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Rob, Councilmember Vogt,
yes.
Councilmember Bashir,
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, so
Closed
that,
session.
that motion has.
We already voted on that.
That motion, the motion failed.
What, is there a
So
council
according
is
to,
immobilized?
according to Robert's rules, please give me some direction.
As to what?
Okay, the motion to adjourn failed, the motion to go into closed session failed.
Council's got to take some action. I think
I
at this point the chair
I would move to reconsider. No, I can't.
I would just say the chair can, because of the situation, I would say the chair can entertain a motion to go into closed session. Because you're essentially at a standstill. So,
We're
the chair,
essentially what?
you're at a standstill, right? So
Right.
you can either, or the other option is to continue with the agenda.
And I
No,
move
what-
to reconsider as an alternative. I move to reconsider the motion to go into closed session.
support.
It's been moved and supported to go into closed session. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Rob,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogt,
Yes.
Councilmember Bashir,
Abstain.
Can we have an abstention on a vote, on that kind of vote?
Yep.
You wanna know what you can abstain on? Sorry, I gotta go have my vote now.
You can abstain on anything because that's our rules.
But you're interrupting voting, you have to continue voting.
Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes, under that, yes.
Councilmember Richardson.
Yes.
Motion fails.
No, how did I know? You got four.
Majority vote.
Needs 5 votes.
I need 5.
All right. Now we're gonna move
Do
to
you
adjourn
want to
again.
change your abstention?
I will change my abstention. Yes.
All right,
Adjourn to
we
closed
go
session.
downstairs.
11:51.
I don't think these folks want to stay around.
Closed session, right?
Yeah, closed session.
Hey, Kyle. I don't need you in my house.
Hey, can I go?
I didn't realize it was something.
Who seconded the motion to close?
I'm not here for this.